you're watching Speak Out TV. I'm Nicole Alvarez, and I'm here with Magali Rassel. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Just to give you a little bit of background about Magali, she was born in Santurce, Puerto Rico, and she moved to Orlando in January 1981, graduated from Evans High School in 1987, and currently you are one of the directors of the Multilingual Students Education Services Department. And you, as director of the Multilingual Students Education Services Department, you work with compliance, curriculum, program models, parent involvement, and grant management.
Yes, that's right.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
I've been with the department now for a year. It'll be a year now in June, and we work with all the compliance. We want to make sure that the schools are doing what they are supposed to be doing with the registration and placing the students in the correct programs and the correct codes and in the right classes. And we also deal with grants, federal grants, and how we can help the students and supplement the programs that we have. And we also deal with program models and with our teachers.
Okay. I read that the Orange County Public Schools now have decided to cut down on bilingual programs. The bilingual programs are now only from kindergarten to third grade. What happens if the child arrives from Venezuela, Puerto Rico, or any other country after third grade and needs to be in one of these programs?
Right. And what would happen would be if they come in after third grade, so fourth grade through high school, the child will be placed in a sheltered classroom, and that is a classroom where all the students are LY students, or they're English language learners, and the teacher has her specialized training of 300 hours or is ESOL endorsed, and we are offering training for the shelter model for these teachers, and it will be a year-long training where they will get even more strategies to work with these students. And it's just what happens with students that, let's say, that we have in Orange County that come from China or from Russia that come into our school system, and we don't have bilingual programs for them, so we offer them the shelter model.
Okay, so basically the only choice that the fourth grader has is the sheltered program. That's it.
Shelter program, or the parents can opt to put them in basic mainstream ESOL. So that would be a regular class mixed with English language learners and students that already know English.
Okay. I also read that, let's say, for example, there's 15 students that need to be in a paraprofessional, that need to be taught by paraprofessionals. I heard that it's gone down to a very few number of paraprofessionals for each 15 of these students that are it's a necessity, basically. And I read, that the shelter programs take a lot longer than the bilingual programs, and also it's slower than the bilingual programs for the students to even learn.
The shelter model, if implemented with fidelity and in the correct way, will give us the results that we're looking for, which is for the students to be English proficient. The 15 students for the paraprofessional, in the meta consent, it says that once you have 15 students that speak the same language, you are required to offer one paraprofessional for the 15 and above. And that's what we do here at Orange County. And we also do have teachers that speak the language in the classrooms and in some of our schools.
But isn't it in some case that there can be one paraprofessional for 200 students?
Unfortunately, that is correct. And with the budget the way it has been, we used to have more paraprofessionals in the schools, and with the budget the way it has been, it has gone down. Now, some schools still opt to have more than one paraprofessional. We have schools that have 2 or 3 paraprofessionals, so it just depends on the individual schools.
But if the law or requirement is one paraprofessional for each 15, how come they're able to go in such a higher number per student?
The meta consent says 1 for 15 or above. It doesn't say
really?
for every, it doesn't say for every
Okay.
15. It's for after you hit 15, you have to make sure that you have that one paraprofessional, but that's all that's required. It doesn't require for every 15 students.
Okay. Now, I read that the money from the state that comes in last year equaled out to 13.7 million. Now, where does that money go if it's not going to the bilingual
That money
classes
goes,
anymore?
It goes to the students, because the students, bilingual education is a parent's option. The parents can opt to send their child to bilingual education, or they can opt to have them stay in the mainstream or go into a shelter classroom. So we still have to have teachers that are prepared to teach our students into the regular classroom. So that money goes to fund regular teachers in the mainstream, the shelter teachers, the bilingual teachers, the books, the paraprofessionals, and everything that goes into educating that child. Last year, Orange County spent over $16 million above and beyond the $13 million it got from the state in order to be able to provide all the services to our English language learners.
Oh, wow, okay. What happened to the bilingual centers? Are they still?
We will still have the bilingual centers for kindergarten through third grade.
That's it though, the no.
And that is what we're looking at for next year. We are going to be looking at also meeting class size, which next year will be classroom by classroom. So we have to make sure that we're able to fund that. We had, in some instances, schools that was a bilingual center that had 9 students in 4th grade. But when you have a class of 9 students, then there's other 4th grade classes that were over the capacity, so they could average out to the 22. Well, next year we won't be able to do that. Next year it's going to be class by class. So every classroom is going to have 22. So you're not going to be able to put 9 in one class and then have another one with 24 to compensate for that class of 9. So we have to look at class by class.
Now, since this is being implemented now, what's going to happen with the numbers being as high as they are?
With the number of
students per class?
It's going to be implemented next year, so we're going to have to look at how that's going to impact us. And we already looked ahead at the 4th and 5th grade, which is where we have our lowest numbers.
Really?
And we were not able to fund classes with 13 or with 9 because the other classes would then be too high. And we have to do it class by class. So that was one of the things that we looked at when we looked at going K through 3.
Okay. Now, based on research and eliminating bilingual programs, I read that Virginia Collier, an international educator, it took her 10 years to give accurate research, and it's been validated. Now, the things that are going to happen after the eliminating of the bilingual classes, this is my question. What will happen if a child has been in the bilingual program and falls behind or isn't doing well or isn't up to par? Are they supposed to, before they were supposed to return to the bilingual classes. Now that the bilingual classes are no longer available to their grades, 3rd grade and up, what's going to happen? 4th grade and up. What's going to happen to the ones that were supposed to be going back if they're not doing good? Where are they going to be placed?
When we talk about students going back, when the students exited. When a student passes a test, all the tests that are given, and they are proficient in English, and they're exited from bilingual or from ESOL. And that's when they go into just the regular mainstream. And we have 2 years where we follow those students and we monitor them. So once the students exited from sheltered or ESOL or bilingual, then we monitor for them for 2 years. And then if not, we pull them back into the sheltered classes where they will have the teacher that has the training and that can give them the attention and the paraprofessionals that can work with them. And we also offer tutoring. We have before school tutoring, after school tutoring, and in some schools they have Saturday tutoring.
Now, is that free?
It is
for
free.
The student?
It is. That is one of the things we do through our Title III grant is we offer tutoring and we offer transportation for the students that need it.
Okay. So now we know kind of where the money's going. What happens to the child if they have not acquired the linguistic know-hows by middle school or high school?
The students can stay as an ESOL student and receive the ESOL strategies and have the teachers that are specialized in that for their whole 12 years or 13 years, as long as they need it. We look at them and we start to then look at if they have been in the program since kindergarten and we're looking at a 6th or 7th grader, then it's something more than just language acquisition. Okay. Because it might be something else that is not just a language acquisition piece. There might be something else that's impeding their learning. Because it takes 5 to 7 years for a person to acquire a second language. So after that 6 to 7 years, we start looking to see what else comes into play.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more about the positive things that the shelter program can bring?
The shelter program can bring into the content area classes, which is what it specializes in. Because a lot of times, our students, they have the reading down, but it's the vocabulary. When you take an algebra class or you take a biology or chemistry class, there's some specialized vocabulary that is used in those classes. So when you're in a shelter class, they really pay attention to that vocabulary. Make sure that the students know what that vocabulary is so then they can transfer it. Because if you understand it in your language or if it's explained to you, then you will be able to use it in the content. If it's just, here's a word, look it up, use it in a sentence and let's move on, you got it, well, that's not going to work. And when you're in a regular, let's say, biology class, well, that teacher might not be paying special attention to the vocabulary that goes into that class because she just assumes, well, everybody here's in the same par. Well, our kids need that vocabulary content area teaching.
Okay. Now, I know we spoke about this before, but can you explain a little bit more in depth what happens to a student? Let's say if they weren't able to be here between kindergarten and third grade, and let's say he arrives in fourth grade. What is the first thing that that child is going to be put into?
It's going to be a shelter
The
class.
shelter
It
class.
is going to be definitely a shelter class where all the students are ELLs and where he's going to be receiving the assistance of the paraprofessional, plus we have the teacher. So it will be the shelter class.
Now
Unless the parents opt to not want him in the shelter class and just go into the basic mainstream.
Okay. Now, that is going to be, and let's say the class is over 20 people, one paraprofessional. Now, they only needed the 300 hours of that credit, correct? The teacher only needed the 300 hours in order to get that title?
To get the ESOL endorsement, which equals to 6 classes. So if you were in college, you would have to take the classes, or you could take the certification test and then take 2 additional classes, and you would have the ESOL endorsement or ESOL certification.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you'd like to explain to our viewers more about the bilingual program being basically taken out and the shelter programs being endorsed more?
There were several factors that played into it. Like I said, we had the class size amendment, which came into play. We have exit criteria, which in the state, you have to look at your third graders and up. We look at the FCAT scores, and we look at their SELA scores, which is a comprehensive English language acquisition test. If they score proficient on the SELA and an FCAT level 3 or above, which is if they score FCAT level 3, they're doing well. You know, they're average or above average. And once they score those 2, they are exited from the program because they've acquired the English language and the content area, which is what we're looking at. Okay. That has affected our numbers in the 4th and 5th grade. We're seeing that our students are doing well, so when they get to 3rd grade, they take the FCAT, they're scoring the level 3, and they're scoring proficient on the SELA, therefore they're being exited from the program, which is a good thing. It means it's working. We're looking at the class size, and we're just looking at all these things and see what happens, and we had to make a decision, unfortunately, because we know that the bilingual program is the best way. We know that when you can build a strong foundation in the native language, it is much easier to transfer the information and then succeed in school, which is what we're seeing in those 3rd graders that are scoring and exiting the program. So we do believe that bilingual programs are a good program. It's just that right now where we're at with the budget and the class size, this is what we need to do.
And you're saying last year that you guys went over the 13.7 million?
$16 million over.
Mm-hmm. 60 million.
16.
16.
No, no, not 60. 16 million.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was over $16 million that we spent for educating our English language learners.
Now, with this year's budget that they automatically draw for you because of last year's statistics, you're not able to still implement the bilingual program this money?
We're not able to fund the 4th through 8th portion of it, unfortunately.
Now, you were saying a decision has to be made. What is that decision that you were talking about just a few seconds ago? You said, unfortunately, a decision has to be made.
Well, the proposed that, right now we're looking at going from kindergarten through 3rd grade instead of K through 8, which is what we've been doing. And that's what's proposed right now. So that's where we're at. Okay. And we also have to look at the transportation cost, which also, we transport the students from different schools to the centers. Just we do provide transportation, and other counties do not provide transportation for their bilingual programs.
Okay. Is there anything else, Magali, that you would like to talk about?
No, I think that pretty much covers
you think
it. And I wanted to let you know, through I mentioned the tutoring program.
Yes.
And through Title III, every year we have to write our Title III grant. And for the next year's grant, we are looking at continuing the tutoring, which goes from elementary schools through high schools. And they can do before school, after school, like I said, Saturday schools for some of the schools that offer it. We also have summer programs that we're doing for our students. It includes transportation, and we're also going to be looking at adding bilingual paraprofessionals. Because we do know that budget times require some of the schools to go down to 1. So we want to come in and say, well, you do have more than 100 students, or you do have more than this amount of students, so here, you receive another 1 or 2 paraprofessionals to help you with all those students. So that's one of the things that we do know that help our students, and we are committed to helping the schools out.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you coming out today and speaking with me, and I hope this was informative to our viewers. Again, Magali, Rassel, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And you're watching Speak Out TV, and I'm Nicole Alvarez.
Stop hunting. Start finding. Choose the AT&T Real Yellow Pages with complete ads and up-to-date local listings to find just what you need.
Hi, you're watching Speak Out TV. I'm Nicole Alvarez, and you just saw an interview with Magali Rassel. And next you will be seeing an interview with Danny Ramos and Jacqueline Centeno.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you every week on Bright House Cable 49, every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. We talk politics, we talk community issues, and there occasionally we get some controversy. I'm here with Jacqueline Centeno, who's running for Orange County School Board District 1. She's a candidate. You know, Orange County right now has some big problems in the educational system with financing and budget cuts. So, Jacqueline, why are you running? It's a mess, so why are you running?
It's a mess, because I think it's important that we have a new change in the county. There's things that have been going on for years that haven't been looked at, and I think that just got tired of people telling me, you know, of looking at the board and problems and talking to my coworkers and arguing at work and in the cafeteria, you know, within my coworkers about things that we should have done or they should have been doing and not doing anything about it. So,
well, you know,
that's why.
I had Evelyn Rivera here about a week ago,
Yes.
and she was saying that the bilingual program has been decimated by the superintendent of schools of Orange County. She was very, very upset against the superintendent of schools, who reports to the mayor. So I would say that the mayor is involved in these cuts against bilingual programs for the Hispanic community.
Well, I'm not sure if it goes that far back, but we're not happy. I work for the ESOL department, for the English Students of Other Languages department.
She told me that right now the cuts have been made so that it only goes to the 3rd grade level.
Yes.
Tell me what that means actually.
That means we used to have, the ESOL program has 5 program models within it as an umbrella. One of the programs is the one-way developmental program, which is what's most commonly known as the bilingual program. That program was from K to 8. Now it's only going to be K to 3. So all those kids that used to sink and swim at 9th grade, because there were no more bilingual programs there where you teach a model that's 50% in Spanish, 50% in English, are now sinking and swimming at an earlier age, at 4. It's going to cause a lot of problems because our kids don't come in kindergarten. Our kids come in all grades, constantly.
Okay, what is the definition of when your kids come? What does that mean?
That means that they come from other countries, not just Hispanic kids, but from all over the countries. The bilingual program, unfortunately, in Orange County is only for Spanish, English. So that means that those kids that come from other countries or other states that used to have bilingual settings where they're learning in their own language, no longer will have that service here, and they will go into full inclusion model, everything in English, even though their Spanish
basically,
is
just
nil.
to make it simple and uncomplicated, basically a Hispanic kid, an Asian kid, or any other, a German child, comes into the school system at the 4th grade level. That child who's in the 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade does not speak a word of English, and they're being thrown into a class that English is only spoken in that class.
Yes.
So that kid is going to be totally lost.
Yes.
Okay. Whose great idea was this?
Well,
I mean,
it came from higher. Of course, it came from higher up from our department, from the Multilingual Student Education Services. It came from higher up than that. I mean, probably from the superintendent, Ana Diaz, who's a deputy assistant superintendent, got together and decided that the program was no longer effective because we have so much lack of funding, and because we're going to have the race to the top money that we don't have yet.
Hold on a second. You said no longer effective. What does that mean? You said no longer effective, no longer funding. Is it an effective program?
Well, it is an effective program. What they're claiming is that that we didn't have the numbers, the student population, that in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade this past year we had a decline in student population within those grade levels, meaning that we didn't have any kids coming up to fulfill or to hold a program, to have fidelity for a program and hold the program.
What does not enough kids mean? Now, 10, 5, 4, 20?
Well, 15 or more to make a classroom. Now, my argument to that was that I have my own theory about that, because what happens is if you don't hold the programs with fidelity from kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and you start exiting it takes about 5 to 7 years to be fully bilingual. So if you start taking our kids just because they speak Spanish in second grade and start exiting them, because what's happening, they're trying to exit them because in third grade they have to take the FCAT and they have to pass it, and the FCAT's in English. So just because the child starts to speak English a little bit, they start pulling them out into mainstream. So of course, if you start pulling our kids out ahead of time, when they're supposed to be in there from K through 5 at least to be fully bilingual, then of course you're not going to have any kids in third, fourth, and fifth grade to hold programs because they're being exited before time. I think that's the problem that we are having, that in my opinion. That our kids are being exited and they don't have any kind of follow-up, continuous follow-up to where they should be, because they should be exiting when they go to middle school.
Okay, so basically, the bottom line is, with all the political bull crap and complications, the bottom line is that kids that speak a foreign language that come here are not going to be educated.
They're going to be educated. It's going to be hard for them
How
because they're not counting
educated?
the emotional stress that the child's going to go through. They're not counting the acculturation process that the child goes to be able to.
Well, they're in a math class. How do you, if you don't understand what the teacher is saying, how do you?
Well, most of our kids that are in the one-way program right now are going to go into a program that's called shelter instruction. Shelter instruction is like a bridge between mainstream and the bilingual program, where the teachers still use a lot of hands-on, a lot of realia, a lot of manipulatives, a lot of group works to make comprehensible instruction, for comprehensible instruction to be provided to the kids, and teach them content and language at the same time. That is the best program they'll go into right now that they have.
What groups? What age levels is that for?
Those from K to 12.
Okay.
We don't have as many as in high school as we would like to. Only a few high schools offer that.
Is that
for
an
K through
adequate
8.
substitute?
It is a good program. It's called we use the Shelter Instruction Observation Protocol program, a model. It's an approach to teaching. Actually, it's not a program. It's an approach to teaching that teaches strategies to learn a second language, to acquire a second language. But it's the best that we're going to have to offer those kids without letting them totally sink and swim. The curriculum is still in English. The teacher, if they're lucky enough to get a teacher that speaks their language, in this case Spanish, then the teacher can actually teach the lesson.
So that's not mandated?
And then, no, it is not. That whole curriculum is in English. If the teacher speaks a second language, or in this case Spanish, then at the end of the lesson they're able to actually say, okay, take a little group out, the ones that really didn't understand, say, okay.
Why isn't there a class action lawsuit against the Department of Education on this?
Well, right now the Parent Leadership Council, which Evelyn Rivera is a part of, they're trying to do a civil rights.
It's obviously a civil rights issue.
They're trying
what
to
you're doing
do
is
that
you're
right now.
obstructing equal education
What happens is
for all children.
What happens is the Meta Consent Decree that with the Now Child Left Behind that protects the second language learners in the state of Florida does not stipulate in the Meta Consent Decree that it has to be in Spanish. It stipulates that it has to be comprehensible instruction, but it doesn't say anywhere in the Meta Consent Decree that it has to be in bilingual in Spanish.
Well, then you have to determine what is comprehensible
Right.
to a child
and that's
in
what
the fourth grade.
Yes, and that's what the PLC, the Parent Leadership Council, is doing right now.
It sounds
putting
political.
it together. It is, and
It
it's going to
sounds like
get
political
it's going to get a
language
lot uglier
in order
than
to
it's going
buy time.
Yes, and it's going to get a lot uglier. Right now,
Well,
it is a done deal. It's a done deal. They did it.
They
They
need a
cut the
lawsuit.
program.
They need to be sued.
And our kids are going to sink or swim.
Yeah.
My thing to that is, okay, you're going to let our kids sink and swim. Then why did you leave bilingual from K to 2? From K to 3, when
Right.
those are the early ages when they're learning literacy skill, reading, writing.
That's
You're teaching them reading and writing for 26 letters that we have in Spanish versus 44 in English, 44 sounds, and then all of a sudden say, okay, I'm taking your 26 letters, and now you have to learn. I don't know where you're going to get the other to get to 44 and sink and swim at that
Right.
point. Then might as well just start them in kindergarten in English. Why are you having K through 3 in Spanish only and then letting them sink? That makes no sense to me.
Right.
What is the use of that?
So, if you become elected, how are you going to change that?
Well, right now we're trying to get communities together, because I think that one of the biggest problems that we have is the lack of communication within the board and the communities, and especially the Hispanic community. We have 34% of the Orange County School Board students are Hispanic. So we have a big voice, yet our parents are silent. I'm not sure if it's because they're afraid or
Well, have you
because
gone
they
to the
don't
Hispanic
organize.
media?
I have gone to the Hispanic
And what
media.
medias
I
have
have
you gone
spoken
to?
in every Hispanic talk show that we have for media, and they organized with Evelyn Rivera about a month ago. They actually met when they were trying to present that this is what they're going to do, put a lawsuit together. They're trying to, we rally for the parents to call, to send emails to all the board members, to the superintendent, to call them, to inundate them with calls, to organize to go downtown.
You need a lawsuit.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to organize our people.
Has a lawsuit is being realistically considered?
Yes, it has. It's been written up.
It's been written up,
Yes,
but it hasn't been
No, they're
executed.
waiting. No, they're waiting for, I guess, 2 more parents who are going to bring testimony, and then when that's set, then they'll present it. Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way that this thing can get off the ground. Because you
Because
know
right-
what happens is parents work, they can't be consistent.
Right.
So they have to work to eat. So they're not going to go down and protest and do all of these things. But if you get a lawsuit together and you make people powerful people, and you bring powerful people in front of a court, that's where the equality takes place. So you really need to hit these people with a lawsuit and let it go into the public that way.
Right,
You
and
know?
that's what Evelyn Rivera and Mr. Fernandez are doing, setting it up, and it's coming soon. It's going to come soon. I think that they in one of the meetings that I attended from the board, they stipulated that okay, we're going to give it a year and see how the kids are doing and see how the kids react, or the parents were very upset because it didn't really come. What happened? These people, it's like, here, take the baked potato. Here's a hot potato. Pass it to you. Instead of them announcing it publicly themselves. What they did was they called all the curriculum compliance teachers at each school, which run, like for instance myself, that I run the ESOL program within my school, and said, okay, here, this is a letter we're giving you. Here's a PowerPoint that you're going to present that we no longer, after the next year, they're no longer going to have bilingual, and you do it. And we were put in the role, calling in a special meeting for our parents, having the parents come in and telling them, oh, by the way, your child will no longer be in bilingual services, and if you're coming to this school for bilingual services and we don't offer it, then you need to go back to your home schools. Because we had a lot of kids, because we were feeder schools, that now have to go back to their home schools to finish off their middle school or elementary years.
Okay. I think I've seen many battles like this, and the staying power is what measures the success or failure. Right. A lot of parents always get together, community activists get together, but again, they have to go to work and they go away, while your employees on the higher ups are there every day pushing the buttons. So the best way to do this is to get legal action against the Board of Ed and make them come to court and face the music. Because I don't care what they say, and it's just going to destroy a lot of young lives and create trauma for them. They're going to be ridiculed by other students because they don't speak English. They're going to be ridiculed by other students because they constantly fail the exams which are being given, and it's just going to create a traumatic situation. Not to mention, if it stays this way, it's going to create a horrendous dropout rate.
I think that we're going to have to wait right now, to see how everything is going to work out with the lawsuit that they're going to implement, and hope for the best for our students, and hopefully, our teachers are going to be prepared to service them as well, just like they did this year.
All right. Well, we're out of time. I want you to come back next week. I want to get Evelyn Rivera here, and I want to get Diaz here from the Board of Ed, so you guys can fight it out in front of the camera.
Why not?
And this way we have all the views and what's logical for the community. Danny Ramos will see you next week on Hispanic Speak Out.
Travel to Spain or Orlando Avenue. The finest restaurant featuring cuisine from Spain is open for business, lunch, and pleasure. El Bodegón, our very own 4-star restaurant, is open for business, lunch, and dinner. This is a true gem when it comes to real Spanish cuisine, featuring dishes like paella. El Bodegón also has a great wine selection. Enjoy a 4-star cuisine from Spain today for lunch or dinner at El Bodegón.
My universe is everything I imagine. I want to be a graphic designer. How can I get there? The Academy. It fits my busy lifestyle, and I can learn firsthand from instructors who've been there and know what it takes. Hey, my destiny is a career doing what I love, my way. My choice, my school. The International Academy of Design and Technology.
You imagine we can get you there. Call 1-800-932-2900. 1-800-932-2900.
It's 4 o'clock. You want to dial in?
Yeah, you know, these calls would go a lot better if we had an office.
This is our office.
This is your daughter's dorm room, Bob.
Listen, we have internet, telephone,
Dorm room.
lounge. It's all free.
We could just do business at FedEx office. They've got Wi-Fi, workstations. A lot of them are open 24/7. It'll still save us an overhead.
Hey, baby. Here, give me sugar. Get a room.
Technically, this is her room.
Hello, we're on.
We understand. You want less overhead. FedEx office.
Travel to Spain or Orlando Avenue. The finest restaurant featuring cuisine from Spain is open for business, lunch, and pleasure. El Bodegón, our very own 4-star restaurant, is open for business, lunch, and dinner. This is a true gem when it comes to real Spanish cuisine, featuring dishes like paella. El Bodegón also has a great wine selection. Enjoy a 4-star cuisine from Spain today for lunch or dinner at El Bodegón.
My universe is everything I imagine. I want to be a graphic designer. How can I get there? The Academy. It fits my busy lifestyle, and I can learn firsthand from instructors who've been there and know what it takes. Hey, my destiny is a career doing what I love, my way. My choice, my school. The International Academy of Design and Technology.
You imagine we can get you there. Call 1-800-932-2900. 1-800-932-2900.